Yeah. Hey guys, Gamer here, and we're finally in the 2015 lineup for Sonic Boom. So, without further ado, this is Sonic Boom Vlogs, Episode 9, Guilt Tripping. So the episode starts off where Sonic and Tails are going Sonic Riders through the forest, which we haven't seen since Episode 1 Sidekick, when Sonic was using the Sonic Riders test to test Fastidious Beaver, Eggman, and Tails to see who would become the sidekick. So yeah, to see Sonic and Tails actually go in Sonic Riders is actually pretty awesome. I mean, I'm not sure if it pays an homage to Sonic Riders or if it's just for the sake of showing Sonic and Tails having fun, or both. But I could definitely say it's a really enjoyable start. And then near the end, Sonic messes up, so he goes to pick up his board until he sees a bunch of Weasels robbing a tribe known as the Gogobas. So the Gogobas seem to be a little okay with being robbed, like,
"Ooh, these delightful young men were just ransacking our poor village and taking all our possessions."
They probably need them more than we do, being bandits living on the lam and all.
yeah, thank goodness I don't need money to actually feed my children, or maybe use this to possibly donate to charity. I mean, hey, we don't need money in order to move forward, right? So, of course, Sonic and Tails saves the day. They send the Weasels away.
This isn't over. I spoke too soon!
And so the Gogobas feel like they have to reward our heroes by giving them food. Okay, pretty good so far. But Sonic suddenly feels a little guilty for some reason, like a little uncomfortable with how they're being rewarded. For one, when their belongings were scattered on the ground, one of the Gogobas tried to pick her belongings up, but she has chronic back pain.
Oh, don't worry about her. She'll pass out from the pain soon.
Okay, this is a kid's show, right? So yeah, basically the idea is that the Gogobas are trying to keep Sonic and Tails in their village, so that way they can save them from another robbery attack, or if anything goes wrong in their village. So once Sonic and Tails actually realize this, they know that they have to start leaving. But when they start leaving, they offer them a bed, and of course the blanket comes from the nursery.
The children in the nursery can huddle together for warmth.
Oh.
Because we gotta f*** up our next generation. So Sonic and Tails do the right thing by sneaking out at night, which they should have actually sneaked out earlier. I mean, Tails can fly and Sonic can just run out of there. But of course they get caught. Now at this point you're like, you know what, who cares if they're cornering you? Just run! Get out of there, you idiots! And yet for some reason they feel like they have to be restrained there, which is... why? You don't have to be there just because they're guilt-tripping you to stay there. I mean, just run, ditch them. Who cares if you're being jerks? I mean, they shouldn't be giving up their needs for your needs. I mean, who cares about these guys? So, if you're kind of wondering how long this plot drags on for, I mean, I will definitely admit, the idea of a tribe guilt-tripping in order to make Sonic and Tails stay is not a bad idea. But the problem is that for an 11-minute episode, it surprisingly is kind of repetitive. Like, it's literally one joke that carries on for like 6 minutes. That is like literally half of the episode. So you're constantly having the Gogobas, you know, giving themselves a reason to make a fool of themselves just so Sonic and Tails can stay. So Sonic and Tails pretty much play a reverse psychology while you're playing the good, the bad, and the ugly in the background. And while the scene is not a bad idea, it just feels like it drags on for quite a while. I mean, Sonic is basically trying to make the Chief feel guilty by actually saying, yes, we got responsibilities back at home, and we need to actually go there. And they're trying to reverse it by saying, well, maybe you guys are more important than whatever our responsibilities is. And you literally have a tumbleweed that is literally trying to... show how serious this is, and yet it's kind of like a replay every time you see that thing. It's like, what, you couldn't put like 2 in for another shot or something? I mean, what, did they ban like tumbleweed marriage or something? And so the Gogobas actually do feel guilty, so they send Tails and Sonic back home to water their plants. So, does this mean the episode will become positive from now on?
Welcome home!
A monkey. You know, I think Sonic's reaction sums up my reaction when I saw them in the house. Just good freaking God. I mean, these guys were pretty repetitive enough that did you really have to show them more? Well, being the center of the episode, I guess so, but at this point, it's kind of like, you know, there's kind of no point in watching. So, if you think at this point there's no point in watching, if all it is about Gogobas guilt tripping, well, play the clip.
Hey, Sonic, it's Dr. Eggman.
And now you're invested again, aren't you? So, of course, since the episode doesn't really have much of a problem, there's a rushed climax with Eggman, and honestly, it's one of the enjoyable parts of the episode, so I don't mind it so much. So yeah, as a whole, I gotta say, this episode was the first episode that feels below average for me. And it's quite a shame, because every episode that I've reviewed so far have either been between a 6 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10. But this episode feels a little repetitive for me, so it's definitely going to have a lower verdict, I'll say that for sure. Like the beginning scene with Sonic and Tails going Sonic Riders through the forest, and the action scene with them facing up against the robots in the climax, those are definitely the most enjoyable scenes in the episode. But the rest of it is mostly just seeing Sonic and Tails staying in the village, being forced to stay there through guilt. But the thing is, there's really no reason for them to be there aside from protecting the Gogobas from, you know, any other robberies or whatever. So the whole entire episode is kind of like constantly keeping in this one joke, and since it drags on for half of the episode, it just feels overall repetitive. Now, it would be fine if it was funny, but, well, some scenes actually do kind of get a laugh out of you, especially when you watch it a second time. It just feels overall kind of, you kind of get the point, and it kind of drags on for such a long time. You're just telling Sonic and Tails, you know what? Who cares if they're hanging upside down with those traps that you build? Just get the hell out of there. And even then, there's some moments in the episodes, like some side things that kind of seem out of place. Like Fastidious Beaver, who we saw in episode 1 and a few cameos in a few other episodes, actually appears in this episode just to give that whom grammar lesson, which in a way just seems really unfitting and just comes out of nowhere.
The winner will be whoever makes it through...
Actually, it's whomever.
The winner will be whomever...
How could we sleep when we've got guests to take care of?
Actually, it's guests of whom to take care.
We can't sleep. Of whom?
Yeah, by the time Dr. Eggman appeared at the end of the episode, though, that's when I started to get a lot more interesting, because I can definitely say that out of all the characters in the Sonic Boom universe, Dr. Eggman is definitely my favorite character. Even though I do like the rest of the other primary characters, Dr. Eggman is definitely my favorite. So, to have him appear in the climax is definitely the most enjoyable part, and for him to actually take care of the Gogobas during the last scene, his reaction sells it just as much as Sonic is reacting to the Gogobas in his home. So yeah, as an episode, it's such a shame that I don't hate this episode or anything, but I can definitely say that I didn't really enjoy it that much. I mean, I kind of wish I do, because it's not a bad idea, because we've all been in that position where we had to guilt trip in order to, you know, get our selfish needs and all that, and, you know, it's definitely understandable why the Gogobas want to actually keep Sonic and Tails, but that's literally what happens throughout the entire episode, or at least half of the episode is pretty much them just trying to keep Sonic and Tails, and it's just playing on one constant joke that for the most part has more dialogue than it does actual laughs, and it just overall feels not really as fun.
Wait! I got heirloom tomatoes and some really nice pastrami. I'll pack you sandwiches.
And also, this is an episode where Knuckles, Amy, and Styx do not appear in, making it Amy's first disappearance, Knuckles' second disappearance, and Styx' third disappearance. But seeing Sonic and Tails, as the main characters are good enough to hold the episode, but even then, the idea of the episode isn't really well enough to actually be above average for me. So, yeah, as much as I really hate to give it this verdict, I think the final verdict for this episode, the lowest that I've ever given a Sonic Boom episode, will be a 4 out of 10. It's a slight below average for me, and I really hate to give it this rating, but as I said, there's not really that many jokes I do play with it. There's definitely some good moments in the episode for sure. I mean, with the climax and even the beginning, and even some of the reactions that Sonic and Tails gives, and even once in a while, some of the guilt tripping does kind of give a little bit of a chuckle. But as a whole, it just feels pretty repetitive and not really that well thought out. So yeah, this is definitely the first episode, in my opinion, that I kind of didn't like. I don't hate it, and I can't really bring myself to say I dislike it. It's just okay, but a slight below average, in my opinion. But with that said, I didn't expect the show to have, like, average to above average episodes all the way through. I mean, there's no show that does that, with some exceptions, but for the most part, I think this episode pretty much is a slight below average. But if you like it yourself, then go ahead and like it. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with it. It's just as a whole, it doesn't hold up to the first 8 episodes that they showed in 2014. So for this episode to be the start of 2015 is a pretty weak start. But even then, Sidekick wasn't really that strong of a start either, but at least the episode was an episode that is pretty likable. So yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about episode 9, Guilt Tripping. So, take it for what it's worth, and I'll see you guys in episode 10. Dude, where's my Eggman? Oh boy, Eggman's gonna appear in the next episode. I can't wait for this. See you guys later, and I am gonna give up my selfish needs for someone else's needs. Goodbye.